Have I mentioned that I am so excited about recording tonight? Have I said that to you guys yet?
You have not.
I think I mentioned it to Caleb. I am pumped because we're going to be talking about a Marvel movie. Going to be talking about a Captain America Marvel movie. We had Costco bulgogi for dinner tonight, and hot take, I think Costco bulgogi is the best Costco anything. I'm willing to debate about that.
That is a hot take. I think the Costco pepperoni pizza is it's top tier, but I'm not gonna fight you on that. It's pretty good.
Hot dog.
They have really good tri-tip though.
I don't know if I've ever tried the tri-tip. Caleb, you're saying hot dog?
Hot dog.
The hot dogs are delicious.
Hot dog.
Punch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my two awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
So I Googled Captain America pun jokes. I think that's what is most exciting for me about recording tonight, because I have an internet's worth of Captain America pun jokes. ready
Isn't a
for-
pun joke just a pun?
No. It's a pun joke.
Is it
What
also
did the battle?
internet
Let me give you an
website?
example. Let me give you an example.
Is it the
What-
internet website that you found it on?
It's the Google.
The Google internet website?
So let me tell you what happens when you Google Captain America pun jokes. It takes you to a Reddit thread. Well, that's one of the options of Captain America puns/jokes. And I will give credit where credit is due. This is a Reddit user named Clayman60. One of his jokes is, what did the battle droid say to Captain America after receiving an order? Roger,
What?
Roger, Rogers.
That's so bad.
Yeah, that was hard on the ears.
What is Sam's favorite hockey team?
What?
The Detroit Red Wings.
Boo.
Get
He lives in Washington, D.C. There's a hockey team in Washington, D.C.
Bro, don't make me explain that joke to you. You don't get
I
it?
understand the joke. Because Red Wings is a little sidekick dude. But still.
Those things are awesome.
Can you explain why that's funny though?
No, I can't. A joke's not funny if you have to explain it, or when you explain it. If you don't get it, that's on you.
If you know, you know.
Okay, this is. No, I'm going to say that one. I'm going to say that for. I want to say that one for later. I want to get talking, because tonight we're talking about Captain America: Brave New World. But I will put pause on that, because there was big news today. I sent you guys a link to a trailer. That trailer was the first trailer that we've seen of Andor Season 2. Did you guys watch this? And if you did, what did you think about it?
I didn't watch it. Sorry, I forgot. I saw it and was like, "Oh, I'm about to go to school right now. I should watch this later." And then I forgot about it until you just mentioned it right now.
It's
Caleb.
okay, Dad. Don't worry. Don't worry. I didn't watch it either.
The only thing funnier than the fact that you guys didn't watch it, and by the way, you guys are magnificent podcasters. Let me tell you, especially
Yes.
a pop culture podcast, just magnificent.
We pride ourselves on preparation.
And you guys do a great job. You really, really did. The only thing funnier than that is that I knew you didn't watch it. I just knew that I didn't even mention it to you before we started recording.
Should we stop and listen to or watch it right
No,
now?
no. It's okay because we're not going to spend all that time breaking down the. It's a cool trailer. It's almost like a hype video for Andor, which I was happy about. The bigger news, in my opinion, is that they released the episode schedule,
Oh,
and I have to tell you, I'm surprised at how much I like this. So there's going to be 12 episodes. We've talked about that before, right? But they're not doing it over 12 weeks. They're going to release 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks.
that is amazing.
I thought you would like it.
Good job.
Yes.
Do you approve too, Luke?
Good job. You did a good thing.
Episodes 1 through
We
3 will be
are
dropped on April 22nd. 4 through 6 will be April 29th. Episodes 7 through 9 will be May 6th. And episodes 10 through 12 will be May 13th.
Wait, so they're still waiting in between?
Yeah, they're dropping 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks. Was that not clear the first time I said
Oh, that is 4 weeks. My math is not mathing.
it?
Put on the
Yeah.
stupid hat.
Yeah, that thing never comes off.
Yeah, so that's how they're going to do Andor season 2. I'm sort of psyched about it because I'll be honest with you. I know you guys like this because you prefer binging shows over weekly releases. We've talked about this a lot over the course of the Colby cast.
Yes.
But I
And
was
before
actually
we move past it, we are the water that made the Grand Canyon what it is today. I'm going to take credit as a member of the Colby cast that we made this happen. Disney finally listened to us, finally understood that we were right and gave us, and by us, I mean all the people, what we wanted.
So you heard it here first. The Colby cast is responsible for the creation of the Grand Canyon. You're welcome.
Yep. And if I'm wrong, my name is Colby Mead.
Yeah, and sue me.
Maybe not that last part. The reason I like this, and you know me, I like those weekly releases. I like to enjoy things week after week and talk about them and slow roast all these TV shows. But I will admit that this is probably Daredevil's fault because I have been binging through as fast as I can the Daredevil stuff to get ready for next month. Next week. I'm not going to finish. I've come to that place of acceptance already. But being able to hit like skip to next episode and just go right into the next episode is pretty nice. I like it. And I can tell you that like the last couple series, no matter what they've been, regardless, Star Wars, Marvel, whatever, I sort of want more. So I don't know that I want it all at once, but this 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks is sort of tantalizing. I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. So
I'm right there with you. I think it's great because, long story short, Brittany and I needed some background noise as we were doing things around the house. And we just put on Pop Culture Jeopardy, which, for a member of a pop culture podcast, I sucked at. But we weren't
I had no
like,
idea that existed, by the way.
yeah, it's pretty great. Colin Jost of SNL hosts it, and they have like, I don't remember if it was all just group competitors, and I think it was like 3 groups of 3 who were playing Jeopardy against each other, or if it was a mix of groups and individuals. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. The reason I bring it up at all is because at the end of the episode, they announced the winner, and like they would always say, "Oh, and tune in next week," when before it was on streaming. But now he says, um, "Tune in next week," or just don't stop watching. Just press next episode. Just watch all of them right now. And I
I
think
like
that's
it.
hilarious. It's
Yeah.
very self aware, and we did just that. We didn't watch all of them, but we just kept watching.
Well, now I want to watch that as like background stuff because Colin Jost is funny, and I want to also suck at pop culture Jeopardy. Yeah, so no one's more surprised than I am, but this episode structure of releasing, I think, is sort of cool, and I think I could get into it. So we'll see how it works. I think it
What if
finds a
we
happy
did that?
medium. Hmm?
What if we did that with podcasts? Like, instead of weekly releases, we just give you a month's worth of podcasts. We drop 20 podcasts on one day.
And then we don't do anything for a month?
Yeah.
No.
Well, I don't know if we do weekly releases. I don't know if you know, but there's more. There's 4 weeks in a normal month. I don't think 20 is 1 month of releases.
It just sounds to me like Luke's trying to get out of weekly recording. That's what that sounds
Yeah,
like
it
to me.
sounds like he needs a vacation.
If he only knew that we're going to start recording even more when hockey season. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't have that plan. Um, yeah, so that's the breaking news. Andor. I know you guys are all hyped for it. Do yourself a favor, go watch the trailer and enjoy it because I think it looks pretty cool, and I can't wait. So April 22nd, expect the Andor talk to commence. I'm looking forward to it. But that's enough Star Wars. That's enough Andor. Let's talk about Captain America: Brave New World because we went and we saw it. I got my wild cherry Pepsi, my wild cherry icy.
That was crazy.
Yeah, and we watched the movie. So I want to hear what you guys thought about it.
I love Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson is the man. I wasn't sure when Endgame came around. Wasn't sure about it. And the Falcon and Winter Soldier was cool, but it didn't do a ton for me. But this movie reaffirmed my feelings for Sam. I am a big fan of Sam Wilson.
I agree with you. The only thing that I've always liked Sam from the point where he's doing the on the left thing from was that Winter Soldier, right? When they're doing the running bit and then they came back and referenced that in an Endgame. The only thing that I didn't like about Sam was his weird beard in Endgame. I just wasn't a fan of that style, so I'm glad that he ditched that. And I love him as Captain America. I think that he there's some specific things that I really enjoyed about it, about Sam Wilson specifically. But Caleb, hit me with it. What did you think overall?
I, I'm going to ask you first. Are we going to? Am I airing out everything I feel right now, or you just want to hear my opinion?
Just your overall thoughts on the movie, and we can get into details and get in the weeds about different things as we go.
From the seat that I sit in, I enjoyed the movie. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought, like, enjoyment wise, I was enjoying it. I would say at least the majority, and I don't just say at least the majority being like 55% of the time. I think I would put it in like the 80 to 90% enjoyment. There were certain things where I was like, that was a complete miss for me. But like, I could see myself watching it again if I needed to on streaming, while I haven't felt like that for a lot of Marvel movies that have come out recently.
Yeah, that says a lot actually, especially because I know you guys have been sort of cool on the a lot of the Marvel stuff since Endgame and all the Phase 4, Phase 5 stuff. So to say that you would rewatch it is it says a lot in my opinion. We did say a couple of episodes ago, we talked about this is a movie that we wanted to see in theaters. We wanted to see it opening weekend. Unfortunately, that opening weekend was President's Day weekend, and that's a big hockey coaching weekend, so we couldn't make that work, but we were able to see it the following weekend. And I'm glad that we did. I really didn't get spoiled about anything really that important that the studio hadn't spoiled already in like the years coming up to this. Um, I mean, McDonald's. Speaking of spoilers, we should probably say we're going to spoil Brave New World. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back and listen. There's your spoiler warning. So McDonald's had a Red Hulk toy like a year and a half ago. It's been sitting on my desk that long, so nobody really knew that Red Hulk was going to be in the movie at that time, and they put it in a Happy Meal and branded it as Captain America: Brave New World or whatever it was called at the time. So
Did they
Red Hulk,
really?
they did, they really did.
I don't know why I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember it being like that big of a deal, whether it was like not noticed by a lot of people or like honestly people just didn't care, but I forgot that happened.
I don't think that it was a really big deal because I think the assumption that because Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross was going to be in the movie, I think the assumption was, yeah, we're probably going to get Red Hulk. So when McDonald's went and did that, I don't think that it was like shaking. But people who don't like spoilers, they didn't have a choice. Like they they walked into a McDonald's and there's your Happy Meal toys. And you've got a Red Hulk. Like, what is that about? So that sort of sucks for a certain segment of fans, but also whatever. I thought it was very enjoyable. I liked the movie a lot. Again, I do like a lot of movies, so but I did like the fact that it tied into a movie that no one ever talks about, which is the Hulk from way back when Iron Man came out. Did you even know that Hulk came out like the same year as the first Iron Man? It was within a few months.
Yeah. I actually saw a thing about it because they were saying this person on the internet was saying that the original plan was instead of having Thanos and make that end credit scene and Loki be the bad guy for Avengers, that Tony Stark was going to put together the Avengers so that they could stop the Hulk.
Oh, interesting.
And apparently, in The Incredible Hulk, there's an end credit scene where Tony Stark goes up to Thunderbolt Ross and says, "Hey, I can help you with your Hulk problem," or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which would have been sick. But I I like that they tied it into, you know, name dropping Betty and stuff and all that. That was cool, but you also didn't have to watch it to get it. Um,
Hmm.
you could sort of just understand from like the dialogue what was going on and the relevance of it. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting.
Caleb, have you even seen that movie? I think it's technically called The Incredible Hulk, and it had Edward Norton
Yeah,
as Bruce Banner.
I don't know why, but I remember like everything about it very vividly. I
Oh, interesting.
remember Edward Norton. I remember thinking, what's the villain's name?
Abomination.
Trevor.
Abomination. Thank you. And I think that's
Trevor.
very funny that I couldn't. I think it's very funny that I couldn't remember the name after saying I remember the details very vividly. Um, but here we are. Um, we I don't remember where we were, but I remember watching it like all of us together and thinking the like sonar thing to contain Hulk was crazy. I remember thinking like certain aspects of the villain were disgusting. I remember like pretty much everything about it. I remember when he was like transforming into that creature and how like the bones were sticking out of its elbows and all that stuff and how
Yeah.
creeped out it made me feel. But I was just like, oh yeah, that's a villain.
So I'm signing off on everything you just said because yeah, all that stuff was super gross, and I had forgotten about the sound like waves that they were trying to trap the Hulk, which I thought was a cool twist. Uh, but I did not have a Captain America movie, especially right now, tying into this movie from whatever year that came out. I can't even remember when the MCU launched, and even for the longest time, they just sort of left it alone and never even referenced it very directly. And the question people had in their mind was like, does this movie even, is it in this universe? Like, what is
Yeah.
this? And they left a lot of it off until they brought in Thaddeus Ross or Thunderbolt Ross, whatever. I think he showed up in like Civil War, and then it was the same actor, so people were like, oh well, maybe it is, and blah blah blah. So I did not expect them to connect this movie. If you had the Hulk in this movie, not the Red Hulk, but the Hulk in this movie, you could almost say like this was a sequel to that movie. That's how closely connected the storylines were. But of
Yeah.
course, the Hulk wasn't in it, so it's not a Hulk sequel. But um,
You
I
you
I like
mentioned
those ties. I thought they did a really good job with that.
that was one of the things I wanted to talk about though, was like they left out certain things. I don't know if it was for convenience or not, but I need you guys to help me decide how I feel about a certain thing. And we do that a lot here.
Well, that's what we're
Um,
here for.
they mention Betty and they mention the history that she had with Hulk, but they never mention that any other times other than this movie and the original movie. I don't like the thing I'm trying to decide how I feel is like, why is that just okay? Why not? Like, did they ever talk about why Hulk and Betty never talk anymore?
Not that I know of, but that I'm you might be waiting for me to convince you that it's okay. I'm here to convince you that it's not, because
That's how I just like default felt. Is like I felt like it was lazy.
I thought that there was a lot of convenient storytelling and a lot of lazy writing. Um, I didn't feel any of that with Sam, but there were some moments where I was like, "Oh, come on, really, really,
Yeah,
you're better than this. You're
that's
better
how I
than
felt. Like, could you imagine Natasha all of a sudden being like, "Oh, Bruce, you just have another woman? What is this?"
Well, spoilers for Endgame. Natasha's dead, so she's not gonna come at Bruce Banner for having an
Well,
ex
thanks for
or
that.
girlfriend.
And spoilers for She-Hulk. The Hulk has a kid.
Also true.
So dumb.
Maybe it's
Also true.
Betty's.
I will comment on the whole Betty Ross. I thought it was. I don't think it was necessary. Well, here I don't. I'm gonna back. I'm gonna backtrack on that. On that, it was necessary for what they were trying to do with Ross and Red Hulk. That whole thing. Because if you're not going to bring Hulk in or some other super strong character, I don't know who even can beat Hulk or any of the Hulks. I'm not that well versed in comic lore to know who can go toe to toe. But this is a Cap movie, right? This is a Captain America movie. So Sam Wilson was never going to beat Red Hulk. And I was literally sitting there thinking like how in that fight scene, which I was not thrilled with the special effects in that fight scene, and I usually don't harp on this, but I will just to try to cater to your guys' wishes. It didn't look great. Like I'm talking about the surroundings.
Uh,
Red Hulk looked great, the fight looked great, but that whole park thing and the sunset behind him, I was not. I was like, this is a little rough. Like I didn't.
yeah,
I didn't love it. I digress. Um, Sam Wilson was never going to beat him toe to toe, so he had to already know something that could appeal to the Ross inside of him and get him out of the Red Hulk mode, and that was
yeah.
Betty, right? That's why he went to the cherry blossom area to try to get him in those surroundings, which was a super smart move. I don't know how you accomplish that with Ross without bringing in Betty and that whole aspect and that whole storyline. You know what I mean? So while I
Yeah.
agree, maybe didn't really belong in a Captain America movie. If you're gonna have, Thunderbolt Ross in this movie, you have to humanize him somehow, or else he's just
Well, yeah,
imagine that character without that humanization in that movie. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and the villain being directly from that movie too.
Yeah,
Right, because
the leader playing a part in that too is huge. Um, can we talk about him?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to make one last final point with the Ross thing and Betty. I don't think they've ever referenced like the quote unquote fallout that happened to Ross after the whole Hulk abomination, all that stuff. So the fact that there was fallout and he was not looked at kindly by the public and whatever, and then found out and he was covering up this whole thing that he did with the leader, which I think his name is Samuel Stearns, right? That's stuff that you have to overcome. And again, Betty serves that purpose to be that, like, I'm being better now. I know I messed up and I want to be better, and I want to be better for Betty. So anyway, that was my last point about Betty. So yeah, go ahead. Talk to me about the Samuel Stearns, aka the leader, and his really gross head.
I thought he was a terrible villain. I thought he was the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah, he wasn't great.
That was
My
where the
biggest
bad.
pet peeve my biggest pet peeve with him was the fact he just showed up everywhere. Like, I don't know why I have such an issue, regardless of who's making the movie, with just villains popping up everywhere unless they can like fly or something. Like, this guy had a super brain and that's it. And he was somehow in like the random person's house where he shot those two people on the phone trying to trigger Ross while he's on the Navy ship. And then he was on the island with the pills. Like, he was just appearing all these places. And I feel like to me that was sort of just like that convenience thing you were talking about, Luke, and everything about him as a villain.
Yeah, I mean, the kicker for me was, I already didn't like him beforehand, but you know, I didn't mind the mind control aspect of it. I thought that was pretty interesting, and that sort of made him a threat and gave him power, right? So, I was okay with that stuff. But the scene that was the kicker for me was when Sam calls that guy, whoever his connect was, the SEAL or whoever he was, right? He seemed cool character.
Yeah, he did.
Um, and he's just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use a pulse thing that's gonna kill you. But also, he was in the middle of like combat, I think, and then he just walks away to take a phone call, and then all the other soldiers in the
Uh,
background just stay there, and it was just like, I don't know, is that AI generated writing that they keep doing?
I think that was a training facility, and
It
that it
was
was like a
training.
training
Sure,
montage. They
yeah,
were
but like, come on, you couldn't have come up with something that felt a little bit more, I don't know, cohesive.
sure.
You literally could have had the guy just walking out of a door into that open area and getting a
Seriously,
phone call. I felt the
anything other
same way.
than
It
that.
was super clunky. That whole part was like super clunky. And then I'm also like, how does he already have control over the? I get it, you're a super smart dude, but like, none of that was. I don't know. I don't know if I need to see him going in and connecting something or whatever. But it's just like there was a lot of convenience there. I agree. So go ahead, Luke. I
Didn't
think
it
I jumped on
also
a point of
show that
yours,
it
but
was like like a secluded island? Like, how did he just get inside?
I don't know. I sort of caught like Camp Pendleton vibes from San Diego. I don't know where that was supposed to be. It had to be on the Eastern Seaboard, but it's clearly not Camp Pendleton. But yeah, I don't. That whole thing didn't work for me either. I like the leader as an idea. I think he has aspects of being a cool villain because of his super brain. But yeah, all of that just jumping around and being everywhere he needed them. The movie needed him somewhere, so they just put him there. So that was just like whatever. We don't need all this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I I think he makes an interesting villain because of the what he makes, like a villain makes the hero. If you're not if you're not an interesting villain, then nobody really cares because you're very easy to beat and you don't challenge the hero. But he challenged Sam, right? He challenged his ideals and his values and whatnot. And I found that part of him interesting. Like you said, I like the idea of him, but I I think it was very poorly executed. I also get that they're trying to make him look weird, but it didn't look like gross and uncomfortable and eerie the way that like Ebony Maw did. It just looked bad.
I
Yeah,
don't
it
know who
was
Ebony
gross. It
Maw
was
is.
Ebony Maw was the guy that could move things with his mind in Infinity War, one of Thanos' henchmen guy,
Oh,
like a
yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
skinny one. Yeah. Um, yeah,
I
it
liked
was whatever.
I liked what did you call him? The leader? That was his name?
So his name is Samuel Stearns, but in the comics, I don't even know if they refer to him in the movie as the leader, but in the comics, his name is like his villain name is the leader.
Yep.
Gotcha. So I liked Stern's motive. I liked that, like, I liked his means too, but in action, I feel the same way as you guys. I feel like a motive is very important for a villain. Same thing you said, where it's like challenging the hero, and like he had those things until he started to like get on the screen. To me,
Well, and it makes you wonder, like, because I do think that this is one of those details that shows that this movie suffered through development through the pandemic and then got shut down by the strikes and then came back and had reshoots and probably significant rewrites to the story and whatnot. It seemed like it was a little, they tried to do a lot. And the whole, like, if you're going to have Red Hulk, you sort of have to have Samuel Stearns to explain how the Red Hulk became the Red Hulk if you're going to tie it back to the Hulk, right? Because they
Yeah.
have a connection all the way back there. So like if I'm understanding things correctly, Samuel Stearns like microdosed Ross into becoming Red Hulk. I thought he was taking the pills to suppress the Hulk, but then like as as the movie went on, I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. No. I think they're trying to tell me that the pills made him Red Hulk." Is that what you guys got out of that?
Yes, that's what I got out of it. I think that's what it's supposed to be because he was surprised when he turned into the Hulk and he didn't know what was happening to him. Um, I thought that was an interesting way to go about it because now it makes Thunderbolt Ross even more interesting because I already thought he was
yeah,
a pretty interesting character, right? Like I think Sam was right when he said that he sees some good in him, and now that he puts himself in the raft and he goes willingly, he steps down from office, peaceful transfer of power, that kind of thing. That was interesting because it became like, okay, is the Red Hulk really a bad guy, or is he, what's his future here? What's he gonna do? Um, I liked that aspect of it, but like back to what you said about it clearly suffered through the writing strikes and the pandemic and whatnot. I have no empathy for that with Disney.
Sure. Sure.
You are the biggest studio in the world. You're worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, and other other movies didn't or suffered through the same thing and didn't have clunky writing and bad effects. You don't get a pass for it.
To your point, there's one other thing that this movie suffered through that other movies haven't, and it was the leader change, ironically, leadership change at Disney. So remember, this movie was conceived and began production under Bob Chapek, who was the one saying, "We need to flood Disney Plus with as much as possible. We need to get content on our new streaming service." Bob Iger had stepped aside, and Chapek came in. Well, then in the middle of this movie's production, like not pre-production but actual production, Bob Iger came in and said, "Hold up, we are slowing things down. We got to get back to what made us successful, like the Phase 3 stuff, specifically to Marvel." This is a bigger conversation, but zoning in only on Marvel, he's probably the one that went to Kevin Feige and said, "We need to change direction." And I do feel like this movie, you could see the movie fighting with that leadership change and the change in direction that Marvel took, because it was very good in a lot of in a lot of ways, and I feel like it brought the MCU back into focus the way that it hasn't been since like 2019. But you sort of see how it started with like, we got to connect to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We got to connect to the Hulk. We got to do this. That's why there's so much going on.
It was fun watching this movie with mom next to me because they had the Thunderbolts trailer before the movie and had certain characters that were in the movie in the trailer too, like Bucky. But during that trailer, mom looked at me and goes, "Who is that?" Talking about like the non Captain America, Captain America. You know who I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about? The
yeah,
blonde dude.
yeah. He's called
Um,
the U.S. agent.
there you go. And so I had to like quickly describe it to her before the movie started, and she was just sort of like satisfied with my answer, but like equally still confused because it didn't give her context. It just gave her an answer. And I feel like if you haven't watched all of like the flooding of Disney Plus with all these projects, I feel like even the setup they had with like that newscaster catching you up with X, Y, and Z, I feel like you're still just playing catch up until like the halfway point of the movie because you don't know, like, realistically you are satisfied knowing that Steve Rogers gave Sam Wilson the shield at the end of what was it what's the name of the movie?
Endgame. Endgame.
Endgame. Derp. I was thinking Infinity War and that's not it. Um like you're at least satisfied with that, but with the entire change of everything, I feel like there were a lot of, I don't even want to say like Easter eggs for people who have watched it. I just feel like it was like more like just holes and lack of appreciation for people who didn't watch those shows or didn't watch every single one of the applicable shows to this movie.
So I thought about that as actually after the Bucky Sam scene, which I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts specifically on that in a minute. But after saying this, uh, I thought to myself, like, what if I had not watched any Marvel anything after Endgame and I just went right to this movie? To me, it works. You don't get the good. I mean, one of my favorite parts about Falcon and Winter Soldier was seeing Sam struggle about accepting the mantle and the shield, and I thought that that was one of the stronger parts of that show, and I enjoyed that show. Um, but you didn't necessarily have to see it to get this movie, right? Because if you just, hey, Steve Rogers handed him the shield, he said he's going to do the best he can. Steve says that's why it's yours, and then boom, here we are. Now he's Captain America and he's fighting. He's doing his Captain America thing. You didn't have to see Falcon and Winter Soldier. But one of the things that they did try to get in there, which was also something else I feel like they sort of shoehorned, was the struggle. And that was after Joaquin Torres got shot down and was in surgery. Of course, Sam's feeling bad, and Bucky shows up. And they sort of have this one scene where they have this dialogue about Sam is like, I can't do this. And Bucky drops one of the, I think, one of the best quotes in the movie when he says, Steve gave people something to believe in, but you give them something to aspire to, which I thought was very effective. And it was a good way to bring in Bucky. And you got the sort of the conflict that was in Sam that we got a whole series about. But we got it in that one scene. I do feel like it may have been something like, hey, we got to write in a scene here where we can accomplish this because it was so stark. Like he walks in and he walks out, and that's it. No more Bucky. So it worked on a few levels, but it was I do also feel like it was a little convenient in some regards. What did you guys think about Bucky's inclusion and like that scene in general?
I liked it. I think it to me it made sense. Of course he would come visit Sam when he knows that Sam might be struggling. Um I think he's running for Congress. Congressman who has a body count of what, couple thousand?
Maybe.
Um why not? But I'm glad they included him because it really feels like those two, they have a connection, and it's not quite the same that it was with Steve Rogers, but it's an important connection, and I'm glad they included him. But I'm also glad that they didn't make it about him because I
Yeah.
know there was a huge debate on who should carry the mantle of Captain America. Should Bucky take it or should Sam take it? And I think that you would just invite more doubt into your decision of making Sam Wilson Captain America if you had given Bucky more time than he got, and I think they handled it perfectly.
I thought it was
Caleb?
cool to see him come support him because like it sort of feels like a friend of a friend's friend, you know? And they do have like a little bit of a beef in the show, and then to see that like just behind them in this movie was cool. I thought it was more of an Easter egg for people who like him. I don't think it changed literally anything other than a couple lines of dialogue that were noteworthy, which there were. Um, but like I don't know. I liked it, but not enough where I'd be really upset if they re-released it and erased our memories and we watched it again and that part wasn't in it.
I feel as you guys are talking, I'm sort of thinking about what I've said so far, and I feel like I'm being sort of critical about the movie, and I don't know if I'm coming across like I didn't like it or something, because I really enjoyed it. I love the action. Like I said, I love Sam as Cap and the message that they're sending there. They set a goal to connect this movie to a lot of things, and I think that they did a satisfying job connecting that to those things. Like, because if you think about it, they connected it to the Hulk and all that stuff going on. They connected it to Falcon and Winter Soldier, and some things I want to specifically get to here in a second. They even connected it to the Eternals, which didn't have that on my
Yeah,
my
it was,
bingo
it
card
was
again, but I think they did a good job at that. And there's so much going on in the movie, but I think that they did enough to connect them properly. And there's no way for us to answer this because we watched it, but I would love to know what people thought about like the inclusion of Joaquin Torres, who's the new Falcon, and Isaiah Bradley, who is like this lost super soldier. I know they did I felt like they did a good job at explaining why these people are there, but I also feel like if you didn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, you do miss out on that backstory for those two characters specifically. I'm a huge fan of Isaiah Bradley. Carl Lumley, the actor, I thought absolutely killed it in this movie. He had some of my favorite scenes with just the emotion that he portrays just through his facial expressions. I thought
yeah,
he
he
did
was
a
awesome.
magnificent job. But do you think I mean, I'm glad that they included those characters in this movie. Do you think that the layman or the normal person going out that doesn't consume every second of Marvel stuff, do you think it worked for people like that, or have you talked to anybody like that?
Um, I haven't talked to anybody like that, but I think that the movie still makes sense. It doesn't have as much depth, and I feel like the movie didn't have much depth to begin with. As somebody who has watched all the Marvel projects there are to watch, and I feel pretty qualified to speak on what happens in that universe as a whole. I didn't feel like there was much depth, anyways. So for somebody to miss out on another layer to it, it makes it feel a little extra superficial. And that's kind of disappointing because, when you think about the other Captain America movies, the first one is incredibly grounded and it's almost more of a love story than anything. Then Winter Soldiers about a best friend, and there's so many layers to it. Civil War ties in so many different storylines, and then this one is sort of just a superficial story. But then again, I do think of it a little bit more as an origin story because we're still watching Sam figure out how to be Captain America. We're still watching him, learn how to use the shield. He lost the shield a couple times. You're Captain America, you
Yeah,
don't lose the shield,
yeah,
right? But you're new, you're figuring it out. That's okay. So
and he got
stuff
it
like
back.
that. Yeah, you got it back. And so, if it's an origin story, then I think it's okay. But I do think it needed a little bit more depth.
Well, and I think that that the depth suffers when you're trying to do as much as it was trying to do. Like I was saying,
Yeah.
connect all these dots. There's only so much time, right? So you sacrifice that kind of depth by trying to connect all these dots to the previous things we've been talking about. Caleb, did you want to say something?
I don't know. I'm trying to compare the two, and they brought up the super serum a lot because of Bradley, because of Sam not having it, Bucky having it, stuff like that. But like, I was thinking about it while you were talking about how there were like it was a friendship story. It was a kid who's trying to be now like Captain America. Like it goes from 0 to 100 in those movies. And then he does it with his fists, his will and a shield. Sam doesn't have the muscles, doesn't have the superhuman ability. So at the beginning of the movie, I was like, "Oh my god, he has all this tech. This is going to be ridiculous all movie. He already has like the Wakandan power from like the absorbing of like the shock and then the pulse after."
Yeah,
And
which I
then
thought
as
was
it went
sick.
on,
They did good. They did good at that.
I agree with a catch though. They've shown they pulled out all the stops to make him look cool, to make it this really interesting and amazing character. And I don't know how they're going to continue that uphill climb to make him look cooler or give him more tech or like bare bones him and now he's doing it just with a shield, no other gizmos and gadgets like in future projects. And of course it's something that we don't have to worry about. That's their problem and that's a problem for the future time. But like I couldn't help but think of where does it go from here in terms of all of that?
Yeah. Well, he needs it, right? He needs that stuff because he doesn't have the super serum. So, if he doesn't have all that gear and tech, then he's just a dude, right? Um, and it's not like he wasn't a widow or anything, right? Like he's not
True.
some super special trained soldier or whatever. He was just a soldier, and he's clearly talented, but he needs that. And I think it can be used in a good way to distinguish him differently. Not only can Captain America fly, and not only does he look different, but he also doesn't just punch people in the face. He also has a handy dandy sidekick that uses a laser and stuff like that.
Yeah. I thought about that during the movie, actually very early on, even like during the first action sequence in Mexico. Um, the difference, this is the first time we've seen him really go toe to toe in an extended amount because we didn't get a lot of Falcon action in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Not that I can remember. That was much more character based. There was action sequences and whatever, but this one he's like cutting through cars with his vibranium wings. He's flying with F-16s and he's cutting through their wings and he's got these red wing things, which I thought was super cool. But in the at the core of all of that is just a normal human being, like you guys said. He doesn't have the serum. He doesn't have super strength, and when when Steve Rogers would go toe to toe with anyone, I never worried about him unless it was Thanos, right? Like when he was going against Thanos, that's when you're like, oh, this may not end well, right? But Sam, he's going toe to toe with Sidewinder in that one scene where he's getting shot at. He doesn't even have his stuff on. He could be in big trouble, right? So I like that vulnerability and that danger aspect because I think it adds a little bit of weight and it forces him to be even better in a certain sense than somebody with that super serum. And I loved the line where he said, I should have taken that serum. Bucky's full of cuss," right? Like that cracked me up. That was a
Yeah, that
great,
was good.
perfectly delivered. Anthony Mackie kills it. Like I'm so glad that he is Captain America. I'm glad this character is Captain America, and I'm glad that now there is a potential of him rebuilding the Avengers on the table now, which is something I want to get to. But any other thoughts you wanted to share off of that?
The fact that they had that cool of a line talking about the super serum and how he should have taken it, and then promptly no more than like 20 minutes later, him saying the Falcon has risen, it was ridiculous. I literally laughed out loud with how corny that line was.
Yeah, yeah, I did the same exact thing
I
because it
heard you
was
guys. You guys audibly groaned in that during after that.
yeah, I unless we want to get the expletive marker, I can't repeat what I said because I was not happy. I was not happy with that. But it's just it was such a powerful scene right after, you know. The Falcon is risen. I want to be just like you, and you've been my childhood hero, and I love you. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. And like, I don't know. I'm just some idiot over here talking into a mic, scratching my head and being stupid. If I know it doesn't work, you're telling me all these other people were like, you know what? Yep, keep it, do it. It's awesome. I love it. Great job. That I don't get it. I don't get it. And they need to be better. This character deserves better. Anthony Mackie deserves better. Don't don't give anybody the opportunity, because there are already so many people who are looking to discredit him and not like this character. Don't give him any extra reasons.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I agree with you. Like, find that tone and nail it, right? Like stick the landing. And yeah, that was a little bit wonky. I feel sort of bad because we really even haven't. I mentioned Sidewinder, and it made me think like we haven't even talked about. Um, this is, I really liked that character, and I almost wish that they had chosen one villain and stuck with him, because I see like the potential of making an entire movie just with Sidewinder as the you know, Caleb, you look confused. That's your guy, Giancarlo Esposito, our
Oh yeah, no,
Mandalorian
no.
guy.
It took
Like,
me a second because more of my confused face was I thought he died. But you know,
oh no, no, no. That's one thing I'm really glad that they didn't kill him. He's still out there, like he's still in play, because he could be like a Baron Zemo type of villain that needs to be contended with, and you don't need super powered individuals to deal with him. He's dangerous. You need
yeah.
people like Cap, like Falcon, or even like a Daredevil, or somebody, a street level hero, to deal with this guy. And I thought he was fantastic. Like, I would watch a movie where it was just him as the villain. I thought he was that captivating, and that he's the leader of the Serpent Society, which is a whole other thing, right? And they didn't even get
Yeah,
into that.
well, you're gonna get some 8 episode, 20-minute episode Disney Plus show where he's gonna be in it for 5 seconds. That's what you're gonna get.
I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get as many those Disney Plus shows as we used to. There has been a change in direction, but all right, that was like okay. Last thing, and I have a little fun game that we're gonna play real quick. But I did want to ask, what did you think about Sabra, the ex Black Widow, the muscle in Ross's? What was your take on her? Because I thought she she was a little confusing to me in the beginning of the movie, but as she as the movie went on, she got like more and more interesting, and like she's a diminutive type of person, small, right? But
Yeah.
she packs a punch. Like, I ended up being a big fan of hers by the end of the movie, and I wasn't sure where we were going with her in the beginning. Like, is she a good person, a bad person? What is this character? And I ended up really enjoying the character. Again, a movie that was very full of cool characters. You can add her to the list, in my opinion.
Um, she's grown on me, and where I'm at with her right now is that I don't want to see her again.
What does that even mean?
I hated her during the first part of the movie. I couldn't stand her.
I
Oh
don't
my
think you
god.
were supposed to like her.
Yeah, and y- what I realized was she was doing Ross's bidding, right? And she
Yeah.
was doing good things. She was helping, she was a good guy. And if she was doing Ross's bidding, that makes Ross a good guy. So, yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I thought her writing with it's not the actor's fault. I'm never going to blame the actor for the studio putting him in a position to say somehow Palpatine returned, right? Um, but I just I guess there had to be a character that helped, and there had to be somebody, so that's fine. But I don't need more of her. I don't need another inclusion of her for the next Captain America project. It was fine. I'm over it. she was a forgettable character, and I think it's better off to just move on.
You're not looking for that 8-episode Disney Plus Sabra series, then?
No, you can go put her in Agents of Shield.
Consider me on the fan club. Like, I want a write-in campaign to bring Agents of Shield into canon. Figure it out. I want to see it.
I had a thought while I was watching her, and I was like, damn it, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna try to make her the new Robin Scherbatsky of the MCU.
Oh, don't. That's a sore issue with me. That brings up Secret Invasion, and I don't want to think about Secret Invasion.
Nobody
So,
does.
mm-mm.
What was
There's
that
only
They're
one
character's
actually
name?
Robin
gonna send us-
Scherbatsky. What?
They're actually going to send us a cease and desist letter just for mentioning those two words.
What's that character's name again?
Robin
Hill?
Scherbatsky.
Colby Smulders.
Hill.
Yeah, Agent Hill.
Agent Hill. Yeah. I
Agent
I
Hill.
don't need them to do that. She doesn't have to be the new one. Just let it go.
Caleb, your thoughts on Sabra? And I actually have one other quick question I have for you guys before we get to my fun little game.
This is going to sound weird, but it just makes sense because it just should. And if it doesn't, you guys can tell me. I'll put my stupid hat back on. I liked everything about her that didn't feel forced. And of course, a story is going to force anything on you because you know nothing else about it. But like the like quick little like flirtatious vibe that she got when Bucky was walking out of the room just felt unnecessary. It felt like they needed something right there to like liven up the spirits because of how heavy the conversation was, and I didn't like that they made her do that. I feel like anything could have happened differently. It didn't have to be exactly that. I also don't think that they needed to mention that she was a former widow. I feel like they could have just made her look super cool and widow-esque without ever saying that and letting us figure that out by ourselves. So those two are the things that like pop out to me. And that's not to say I didn't like that she was former widow, but like again, just felt unnecessary, and by my definition, it felt a little forced.
That's a good point. Like, yeah, that was unnecessary. Maybe she's just a super good fighter.
No offense, but if you were a widow, you suck because Natasha handled it way better.
Yeah, well, maybe she was a former widow because they kicked her out because she wasn't as good as Natasha.
I mean, there's a lot of widows that got away at the end of Black Widow. Spoilers for Black Widow. Okay, real quick, because I do want to get to my little game here. What did you guys think about the inclusion of adamantium, even separated from like the whole Celestial Island or everything, which I thought was a cool way of doing it. But adamantium is a big deal. It's a game changer. We're directly leading into like Wolverine territory and X-Men and mutant stuff. So I'm happy it's there. I thought it was a cool way to bring it in. What did you guys think?
I agree. I thought they handled the Celestial way better than I expected. They're better than me because I would have just pretended like the Eternals never happened the way that everybody else has. But I thought they handled it really well. I think it's an important piece of Marvel canon now, and it I think it's been brought in a way where it's not like this is the new thing we're going to focus on. They can now do whatever they want with it, and I think that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, it's just there. It wasn't like the big MacGuffin or anything. It was just, it's there now. It's just introduced. Caleb?
I'm gonna ask you guys this question, like you guys are the like you're Stan Lee and the director of this movie. You guys can fight over who is who. Um, I thought it was cool. I thought it was well done. I just my question is like why? Why does everybody get access to adamantium now? I thought it was like a Wolverine type exclusive thing that they then like figured out how to properly use it through testing on Wolverine. Am I completely off with that?
So I thought, and Luke, please fact check me here. My understanding was that whole treaty that was falling apart, but then ended up coming together, was a treaty of nations saying that the United States can control the adamantium, but would like share it with other nations, but they had the control of it. I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood all that. What did you get out of it?
That's not how I understood it. I understood it
Uh-huh.
as each nation will have a fair opportunity to get the adamantium on their own because they
Yeah,
stole Japan's adamantium, right?
Oh.
that's how
Um,
I got it too. And I can see where you confused it because when the treaty's falling apart and Ross is not Hollowbin, is freaking out,
Nice.
he's saying if only one country can get it, it's going to be us. So like he was saying, if the treaty's not going to go through, I'm going to get all of it. But I think the treaty's purpose was so that everybody could have an equal share to it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense for it to be a treaty, but I guess I just turned my thinking skills off when it came to that because there was so much other stuff to think about. I don't know. I don't know about the whole the whole world has access to it. All I know is that I'm excited that it's now in the universe because that means we're one step closer to the mutants and the X-Men, um, which I'm excited to see them being a part of this whole universe. It may be a while off still, but yeah, I'm excited about it. So sorry, I don't have a very good answer for you. Okay, here real quick before we end, Sam Wilson is now tasked to rebuild the Avengers. We know there's 2 Avengers movies coming in the next, I don't know, 3 years or 4 years or something. So we know the Avengers are coming back. Right now, before we end the episode, I want us to rebuild the Avengers for Sam. Of course, Sam is going to be one of them. So we're going to choose 6 other members to join Sam on the Avengers. And I came up with that number because I Googled Avengers and I saw that there were 7 people in the picture. So we're gonna go with that. So let's just go and tell me, who would you put on this new Avengers team?
She-Hulk, Professor Hulk, Hulk's son, Kamala Khan,
Thor's daughter.
Echo, Thor's daughter, and as an alternate, we'll go Kate Bishop. There you go.
So listen, first
There's
of
your
all,
Avengers. Hope you enjoy.
let me learn you something. Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, most likely Thor's daughter, will be on the Young Avengers, not the Avengers. So you can't choose
Man,
them.
Young Avengers, Great Lake Avengers. Who
West
cares?
Coast Avengers, all this.
Uh,
No. But those
Great
people are
Lakes Avengers
disqualified
are a
because
thing, by the way.
so are the Great Lakes Avengers. Squirrel Girl
Yeah.
is on that team.
Squirrel Girl in the comics beats Iron Man in a one-on-one fight.
I will tell you that just for a half a second, maybe less than a half a second, when you said She-Hulk, I actually hoped you were being serious because she's on my list of Avengers.
No offense, but your list sucks.
It doesn't.
Here, hold on.
You haven't even heard my
Can you hold the
list.
stupid hat? I've been wearing it too long. Luke made me put this on. Hold the stupid hat.
Yeah. You get the stupid hat. What's yours? Let's hear yours.
No, I want to hear Caleb's first.
I don't know enough characters. I say Spider-Man.
Okay, he's on my list too. So I went with Hulk, but if he's not available because he's got babysitting or something, or maybe he doesn't, he's not the Hulk anymore, right? Like he's that Professor
No, he's
Hulk guy, or
he's a
did he?
shell of a man.
So I would put She-Hulk in over Hulk. So if you need a Hulk, I'm going with She-Hulk. You got to have Nick Fury because you have to redeem him from
As an
that
Avenger?
TV show. He's an Avenger. He's the one that brought him together, so he's an Avenger. You need
But like
somebody.
to me, you have the team of Avengers, and then you have the coach of Nick Fury. He's not an
He's the
Avenger.
coach. He is an Avenger. He's Coach
No.
Avenger.
No.
I'd bring a Hawkeye back because you need an original member. And
If
Fury
we're
and
doing
Hawkeye will
original
be.
member, I say Thor.
No, he's busy. He's not
Nope.
on a team anymore. He's made it
Nope.
clear he's doing his own thing.
The answer's Thor.
Of course, you got Sam. Then bring Spidey. Spidey in. You got to have Spidey as an Avenger. He was an Avenger in the comics. I would put Shang-Chi in because you have to do something with Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
You just have to.
I'm with
Shang-Chi's
that.
cool, and he's got power. He's got some muscle. Ant-Man. And if one of
No.
those guys can't make it, bring in Star-Lord. What's Peter Quill doing?
No. I say Doctor Strange.
No,
I
he's
say
busy.
Spider-Man,
He's in the dark dimension or something. He's
Thor.
not a good team member either.
Your team makes me sad.
She-Hulk, Nick Fury, Hawkeye, Sam Wilson, Spidey, Shang-Chi, and Ant-Man. There's nothing sad about that.
We used to be a proper country. We used to take down the Chitauri in New York.
I thought it was funny that they asked, how many times did Steve stop a space invasion?
Twice or whatever. Yeah, that's good.
Um,
Okay, there's
okay.
my. But we're still waiting to hear from Caleb.
You put me on the spot, man. You got it. You know,
Okay.
when
Would you like
you're
some help?
giving a second grader homework, you give them a word bank so they can fill it in. It takes like some brain power for them to figure out which fits where.
Okay,
If you
Luke,
want
go
some
ahead
time,
and give
I
us
can
your
give my
real
actual.
team while he thinks.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? Your real team is closer to my makeup team than my real team. I want you to know that.
I have a
Thor,
good team.
because you do need an original. And I'm sorry, but if your OG character has a bow and arrow, you're in a bad spot. So obviously Sam, Thor, Spidey, Black Panther, because apparently they're going to recast T'Challa and bring in a new Black Panther. Even if not, I'd be okay with Shuri because you need some.
She's a young
You need
Avenger, bro.
some.
The young people have to go on the Young
Oh yeah,
Avengers.
yeah. She can go there. She can go there. Carol Danvers.
She's protecting the entire universe. She does not have time for this.
They will never play in the same league. They're not gonna play each other. Let them double roster, bro.
I'm not joking when I say this. I'm over the. Oh, she's busy saving everybody. We don't care about everybody else. No, no. She's either here and helping us out, or write her off. Like this whole half in, half out. Nah.
Okay, bring Wanda back
Especially
and
when
put
they
her on the
have
team.
I'm sure
who?
Wanda will be back eventually, and then my other one
Isn't
would
she
be
the
Doctor
whole
Strange.
villain now?
She's dead. Sorry, Doctor Strange spoilers.
She's not like actually dead.
100% no, but still. I'm just going off of what's going on.
Yeah. So Sam, Spidey, Black
Yep.
Panther,
Yep.
Thor,
Yep.
Doctor Strange, and who was my other one?
Captain Marvel.
And Carol Danvers. If Carol Danvers doesn't want it, fine. Kick rocks. We're bringing in Daredevil.
As an Avenger, nice.
Absolutely.
He can watch everybody fight.
Actually,
he can't.
That's the whole thing.
You can't. You're terrible, but
If
I'm
the
worse for
original
mine.
Avengers can be successful with Black Widow and Hawkeye, Daredevil can be there, no problem.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I
agree.
Include Daredevil and everything. I'm fine with it.
I agree with Luke's list, not because it's good, but it is good, but because it's right. Instead of Daredevil, just why not? He's been in one movie, but he's a part of it now. Wolverine.
I actually like Wolverine as a potential Avenger. Why not? He's not good
He'd
at
be the
teams.
He doesn't exist yet.
This is also true.
What?
This is also true. I mean, not technically. Like Deadpool
He's not in the
Wolverine is sort of like a
MCU.
Okay, well,
He's in a whole MCU movie.
yeah, but the mutants haven't been properly introduced, so just wait.
He's
but
in a movie.
Okay, we are out of time, so my list wins because I have the stop recording button. So, thank you both for letting me know what you thought about this movie and this wonderful conversation. Thank you for listening, if you're listening. And I want to end our episode with a joke. Because I began our episode with a joke. What did Steve yell out when he couldn't find Sam on a deserted island?
Dope.
Wilson! If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colbycast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colbycast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by Pro Music 24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.